Hey everyone, welcome once again back to the Essentials channel where we'll do our project reviews, news reviews, as well as analysis of the market, or we even share our Essentials frameworks so that we can continue guiding you as a consumer, but most importantly, helping you find opportunities within the market. So today's review will be on LyndenWoods, the first and only new launch in the last 40 years within the Science Park region. And of course, will this iconic development become an icon or will it become a flop? So as always, just like all our project reviews, first of all, we'll start off with the rapid fire info, site plan and floor plan analysis, followed by why I will not buy LyndenWoods and why I will buy LyndenWoods, the price prediction, as well as the final verdict. So to begin, the rapid fire information. It is situated along 69 and 71 Science Park Drive. It is in the Queenstown Planning Area, District 5. 99 leasehold that begins from 28 April 2025, sitting on a site area of 11,556 square meters. Number of residential units 343 with 2 blocks and 240 lots, consisting of 70% of the entire number of units. The estimated vacant possession is 30th of June 2029 with the legal completion 30th of June 2032. Architect, ADTP Architect. So this time around, LyndenWoods is actually developed by CapitaLand, which is of course very largely involved with iconic developments such as One Pearl Bank, Jadon, Marine Blue, Canning Hill Pier, Sengkang Grand Residences, and of course with the most recent launch Parktown Residences. So you realize that CapitaLand always has this particular pattern that they always surround themselves with a commercial element. So in this case today for LyndenWoods, it is actually surrounded by their Science Park commercial developments with the new mall and the new Science Park commercial buildings in place. And this new mall is actually called Geneo. Alright, and with that in mind, you will realize that CapitaLand has this pattern of selecting projects like that. If we look at the most recent launch, which is Parktown Residences, they are of course developing the mixed development, the integrated development with the commercial below and the residential on top. So to further add on about the Geneo and the Science Park development that CapitaLand is currently focusing on, Geneo is actually a $1.37 billion life science and innovation hub launched in 2023, which adds 180,600 square meters of commercial, research and recreational space to the business park. This was opened in February 2024, a 15-story building comprising of 9 floors of purpose-built workspaces and offices. The remaining 6 floors house service residences, Cedardine Science Park, as well as the park's first lodging facility. So, if we do a quick Wikipedia search, Singapore Science Park is a research, development, technologies hub in Queenstown, Singapore. It's actually managed by Ascendus, a subsidiary of CapitaLand. It was actually a government initiative set up in 1980 to provide the necessary infrastructure for local retail and development companies to flourish in the country. So one of the most prominent local tenants headquartered within the park is actually Shopee itself. So why am I telling you all this is also because we have to understand the development that is surrounding this area, and of course what has CapitaLand's presence in there. What's the purpose? Actually, this was a government's initiative since 1980s. So meaning to say that this LyndenWoods land was already probably owned by CapitaLand back then already. And that's why finally today they are developing this area with this cluster, alright, of science parks, alright, and this whole cluster of commercial element, alright, there to actually support LyndenWoods itself also. Finally, Geneo is developed and completed. They are finally launching this residential component because that is the best way to capitalize on it also. And finally, people can also appreciate the value of that land given the new MRT, Cambridge Hill MRT, already established there for quite a few years. So if you like my content so far, remember to like, share and subscribe to keep me motivated and churning this kind of awesome content for you. Alright, but before we proceed with the site plan and floor plan analysis, here are a few photos of the artist's impression of LyndenWoods. So now we move on to the site plan and floor plan analysis. So the residential unit mix of LyndenWoods is actually the following. 2 bedrooms, we have 137 units from 630 square feet. 2 bedroom plus study, we have 92 units from 850 square feet. 3 bedroom, we have 45 units. from 1,000 square feet, 3-bedroom plus guest premium 46 units from 1,200 square feet, 4-bedroom premium at 23 units from 1,600 square feet. Total number of units 343. You realize that they do not have any 1-bedroom component for this whole development. Will it actually be an advantage or a disadvantage? We'll find out later in the why I will buy or why I will not buy section. So this is the site plan of LyndenWoods. You can see from here how the developer actually has mapped out whole site plan. You can see from there that in front of you, actually you are facing the Ayar Raja Expressway, which is AYE. And with that, naturally a lot of consumers will be worried about the noise. Alright, so with that in mind, the developer has actually placed the tennis court, the swimming pool, and the landscaping to actually buffer the two residential blocks further away from the highway itself. You can see the unit placement, how the developer has smartly laid it out. All the 2 bedrooms will face the AYE because they are likely to be investment basis or for investment purposes or for small family usages. Most importantly is always about the livability factors. If I have all the 3 bedrooms facing the AYE, then that will be a huge livability factor not in check. Because in that sense, if you're going to move in with your family, the noise factor may affect your livability factor. And if you look at how the developer has laid this out, most of the 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms and 2+ studies are all facing the quiet facing, and if you go high enough, you can actually get the sea views. There is only one 3-bedroom unit, which is probably the small 3 bedrooms that is on the corner in block 69 that faces the highway, and even that itself has the furthest setback away from the road noise. So you can see from here the developer is actually very thoughtful and they really have the consumers in mind. Alright, they are also very concerned about the livability factors and they know what consumers want. So this time around, they did not make the mistake of putting a lot of the 3 or 4 bedrooms facing the highway. We see the 2 bedrooms being more for investment purposes or small families starting their building capital journey. They buy the 2 bedrooms. In a way, the 2-bedroom unit appreciation can still be pulled up because all the 3-bedroom facings are facing the quiet facing. In general, this will bring in a lot of natural demand and thus pulling the entire development's property price up. And with that, it will create a good spread between the 3 and 2 bedrooms. With that in mind, the 2 bedrooms may still be able to appreciate quite a fair bit due to the livability factors of this development, due to the transformation of this development, and most importantly, the convenience and the accessibility of this development. Okay, so here is a quick landscape plan of the facilities. Working with such a limited land space, they managed to fit whatever they need to fit, and they even managed to fit in a tennis court. And like all the videos that we have seen so far, having a tennis court will always be a what gui. No offense, but anyway, yes, this one actually brings in an additional bonus of a tennis court itself. So we can see we have our lap pool. On the level 1, we have our gymnasium. Level 2, we have our social lounge, function room, infinity lap pool, pool deck, so on and so forth, as what we have seen here in this slide. So you can see from here, these are all the facilities that's available within this development. They really tried their best to use the space efficiently, and you can really trust Capital Land to develop the landscaping. So like what I always say in my videos before, livability is the key to exit strategy, because when people buy into this development, what really brings in the natural demand is families. And if they can envision themselves carrying out their family activities, having place for their kids to run around, having a designated place like a function room to actually host their guests, host their birthday parties or their kids' birthday parties, can even engage in sports, running track, as well as tennis. This is livable, ideal for family, communal activities, and that will naturally bring in the natural demand. So now we move on to the floor plan analysis of LyndenWoods. Alright, so here will be the example of the north view facing, which most of the 2 bedrooms will be getting. Basically, they are actually facing One North MRT direction, the Mediapolis direction. So currently right in front of LyndenWoods, after the AYE itself, is actually an empty plot of land, likely stated to be a commercial building. So if you go high enough, naturally you'll still get the unblocked view of the city skyline, where you get to see Queenstown, Sterling residences, so on and so forth. Basically the whole Queenstown and One North city skyline. So it becomes part of your view. Basically, it is that cluster of the concrete jungle that forms part of your view, and you will always get a permanent view. Go high enough anyway, you will get that kind of view that is permanent. Alright, and basically if you're facing the AYE, my suggestion for you is also to go higher so that you can get a lesser of those noise, or at least it mitigates that little disadvantage that you have. Of course, this developer has put in a lot of quality materials which I'll be running through with you quickly later to showcase to you what the developer actually does to keep the consumer in mind. And of course, if you face the south side, naturally you will get the sea view if you go high enough, but because they are all mostly commercial buildings, right behind is a science park after all, your view is mostly unblocked and you do not have to go too high just to get a good premium view. Right, so here is a view of how it will actually look like. So you will get the unblocked view, panoramic city view and park view, and even sea views. So how often can you get a sea view in an RCR property? Right, so this is one of the good proposition that I will actually be proposing to my consumers as well. And even myself as a consumer, I generally like the accessibility, but most importantly, you will realize how much people are willing to pay for the views. To start off the floor plan analysis, I only have information for these 3 floor plans, basically the 2-bedroom plus study, 3-bedroom plus guest, which is the premium, as well as the 4-bedroom premium. Right, so to start off, this is the 2-bedroom plus study. As we enter from the main entrance, straight away on your right side will be this enclosable kitchen, right, with a concealed induction hob. Right, naturally we will move into the dining area, but before we head into the dining area, we have our bathroom too. Alright, so bathroom 2 finishes, we head into the dining area, followed by the living area with a ceiling fan provision as well as a zip track provision. Of course, this is a traditional 2-bedroom layout with the 2 bedrooms being on the right side as well as a study just opposite the 2nd bedroom. And because this is a non-PPVC construction method, and this is also a non-harmonized development, meaning to say some of the walls can be hacked. So you can see from here we have our bedroom 2 or our study area. Depending on how you want to customize your floor plan, you can actually hack it down to make it a seamless space. So you can actually make your dining area a much bigger dining area by hacking the study wall away, or at least making the study smaller and making your dining area wider and longer. That's another way you can do it. Or you can even incorporate the 2nd bedroom into your living area by hacking that wall down, making your living room having more than a 2.8 to 3 meter wide frontage. As you can see, this is one of the ideal layouts that we always classify as a good layout for a 2-bedroom plus study. Hopefully the 2 bedrooms itself do not differ too much. It will just be removing of the study area and cutting short in terms of the corridor space. Right, and of course we want to see how the smaller 2 bedrooms will look like. For these are mostly facing the AYE side with the wide setback done by the facilities itself. Alright, so for the 3-bedroom plus guest, we can see from here once we enter from the main entrance, we have the kitchen on the left with the bomb shelter, the yard and the utility toilet. Following, we enter the dining as well as the living area. And then of course this is a traditional 3-bedroom plus guest layout. We will have all the 3 bedrooms on the right side. Reducing the corridor length, they put the master bedroom and the bedroom 3 that is of course parallel across each other. So when developers do this kind of layout, you know that the corridor space will be slightly shorter and then followed by the guest and the bedroom 2 itself. Alright, so again, because this is a development that is not using non-PPVC construction method, you can actually have the flexibility to take in the guest as your walk-in wardrobe space or build a bigger bedroom too. So flexibility is there for you. But in this sense, when you have kids, naturally having an additional study area will definitely make your resellability a lot easier. So this is naturally the 3-bedroom plus guest layout. Hopefully the 3-bedroom layout, the 3-bedroom compact layout will actually be as efficient as this. But for this 3-bedroom premium layout, I would say that when you first enter the entrance, that corridor space itself is a little bit wasted because of the way they position the bomb shelter to be directly right behind the kitchen area, creating this very long corridor space. And based on the looks of the floor plan itself, it may not have enough space to actually put your shoe cabinet. Alright, you still can build a shelving alongside on the left side when you first enter the entrance, but I don't think you can make use fully in terms of the length that they're provided in the entrance corridor space. So this may be the only factor that I may not be too happy about. So now we move on to the 4-bedroom layout. Alright, and of course this is the only type of 4-bedroom that you'll be getting in LyndenWoods. It's actually one of the best layouts I've seen so far in the entire market right now. You get your private lift, which is exactly what 4-bedroom owners will be looking out for, and this makes your resaleability factor a lot higher. And of course, when you come in here, I always tell people that if you can go for a 4-bedroom landscape layout, that will actually be the best. And ever since harmonization came into place, you will realize that a lot of the 4-bedrooms are portrait layout, and they have to go a lot bigger before they can actually get that landscape configuration that they are looking for. Alright, but this is 1,600 square feet, and like what I mentioned, because this is non-harmonized, it may have pushed the quantum slightly further up depending on the developer's launch price. So we have the kitchen on the left, which comes in a very luxurious setting where we have the island countertop in the center, and of course all your appliances that forms the U-shaped countertop that we see in the floor plan currently. You got your very wide frontage between your living and dining, and because this is a very old land, that's why there is actually the bomb shelter setting within the layout itself. Of course, on the right side of the unit, you have your yard, your utility toilet, as well as your washer and dryer. And we move on to the right side of the entire floor plan. You get your junior master, your bedroom 3, your bedroom floor, as well as a 4-meter wide master bedroom that has a walk-in wardrobe segment that links to your master bath. Overall, I feel this is a very effective 4-bedroom layout because they have positioned the 4 bedrooms in this setting so that it reduces the corridor space. You can imagine if the 4 bedrooms are side by side each other, your corridor space will be very, very long in that sense. But the good thing about this is because they changed the setting and the configuration of these 4 bedrooms. In a way, it reduces the wastage of space in terms of corridor, but also you don't get that very long, narrow, dark alley within your home, which sometimes people may say that is quite bad for feng shui lah. And because this is a non-PPVC construction method, again, you can actually customize this layout depending on what you want to do with your 3rd bedroom. Again, a zip track is provided, a ceiling fan is provided, a 6.1 meter wide living and dining with a 6 meter balcony. So why I always mention that if you look for 4 bedrooms, you go for the landscape layout, because this is the one that takes advantage of the nice panoramic view. Imagine walking into your living room and you open up to this very nice and wide frontage of the sea view that you're gonna get. And the thing is this, the 4 bedrooms at Lindenwood generally all faces the sea view if you go high enough, and that's what you're gonna be enjoying within your unit. And for this one, the master bedroom position is in the right position to enjoy that sea view as well. And of course, with this positioning of the 4 bedroom and the junior master, it is actually facing the city view in that sense. So all in all, this is actually quite an attractive layout to begin with. Very livable. Your exit strategy is actually very clear with this layout of 4 bedrooms. So here is a bit more about what CapitaLand envisions the whole development to be. It is of course a blend of luxury as well as nature, and they always like to do a seamless fusion of architecture and natural beauty. So they like to go for the Zen mode. You will see a lot of wood features, a lot of grey and wood tone, right, to blend in all these themes together. Personally, I've seen the show flat myself already. If you remember how One Pearl Bank looks like, they generally have adopted the same kind of theme into LyndenWoods itself. Finishing is wonderful. You get your premium kitchen finishes with countertop and backsplash made by sintered stones. Alright, your living and dining, they come in large format sintered stone tiles, so on and so forth. Their master bedroom finishes, wardrobe are all grey tinted reflective glass. These are all premium finishings for your wardrobe, as well as your bedroom floor being vinyl flooring and wardrobe drawers being melamine finishing. So all these are actually very, very good quality material finishings. If we talk about the 3-bedroom finishes, they also follow a similar type of finishing and theme. Again, the countertop and backsplash are all by sintered stone, and the rest of all the kitchen cabinetry is also by very good timber wood finishing. All in all, you are getting a very good layout development, very good quality by a renowned developer. So now we move on to why I will not buy LyndenWoods. Of course, this is standing in a consumer point of view. Alright, I'm not saying that the project is a bad project. So a lot of people flame me for saying that I say the project is bad. No, this is just giving a very balanced viewpoint and putting myself in the shoes of a consumer just to analyze this project, all right? And then we just give the pros and cons and we understand so that we can make informed decision and most importantly, calculated risk, because there is no perfect project in Singapore, right? But it's how we analyze the surrounding demographics, the needs and the livability factors to determine whether this development and this project has a clear exit strategy. So whenever I say that there is why I will not buy, just to clarify to all the developers out there and all, definitely my job is to help to see what is the opportunities that each development have, but I'm just standing in a consumer point of view, right? How do we actually make sense of the disadvantages and how can we mitigate it? So the first factor is the position of the development. It is situated right beside the AYE, means it's subjected to a lot of road noise and dust. So as a consumer and as a person myself buying a house, naturally the comfort of my home, the serenity of my home is also my main concern. And to have that very bustling road noise going in and out throughout the day and even the night, that itself may be a concern for myself in terms of the livability of myself and most importantly, my family members. Alright, but the fortunate thing is this: CapitaLand has promised to give double glazed windows in LyndenWoods itself. So this is to mitigate the road noise aspect. But after all, I cannot be cooped up in the house with all the windows being closed all the time. That affects my livability factor. Am I right or not? So when it comes to family living, we will open the sliding glass doors, we will open the windows just to air it a little bit. But when we air it, then we have some dust coming in due to the very hectic and busy road, which is a highway, naturally. So of course, if you ask me as a consumer myself, I stay on the 33rd floor in Novel 18 right now. Subtle flex there again, alright? But then again, how often do I really open the window? But I would really, of course, appreciate the option to be able to do so, because sometimes I do really want a gaps of fresh air. So when I get home, I just open up the sliding doors, fresh air comes in, I face the greenery, it feels good. But then of course after that, I'll close up the windows and close up the sliding door and turn on my aircon because that's my lifestyle. But do I have an option to do so? I think I do. So this is one of the main concerns that I would have as a consumer. Number two, this is of course the first plot in the 40 years, but it's one of the only plot there also. Of course, depending on future government changes, there may be more residential plot coming out. Alright, but then again, this is the only plot at this current moment. Alright, meaning to say I'll be setting the benchmark. There is not much precedence, there is also not much future. Alright, so this is also a question mark for consumers out there and even for myself. By buying into this place, will there be any future development or residential development that can help me set a new benchmark of prices, or will it just be me driving the prices up itself? So that is a very big question mark. And because this is situated in a more commercial focused area, because this is the Singapore Science Park, meaning to say it can be quite a cold environment as well. So depending on how the demand supply factors are, and most importantly the livability factors are, whether families in future can look at this place as a place that is suitable for living. If they can, then naturally there will be a natural demand coming in. But as of now, we don't really see any future plots of land coming out here. Most likely it will be in the Greater One North, which is opposite of LyndenWoods. Hopefully that can help us drive up the price, but that will be one of my main concerns as a consumer today, whether will there be any future benchmark that can help me create a wider spread, that can help me bring in a long-term sustainability of prices. Third is of course the developer track record. Recently, CapitaLand has been always pricing their developments very well at the start of the launch. We have Jayden that was sold out more than 80% on the first day. Alright, we have Parktown Residences that was sold out more than 80% on the first day due to sensitive pricing. But they also have a little bit of history where they price too high to begin with, and then from there they have this pattern where they of course price it high first to set the benchmark before actually dropping it down, alright, to relevant market pricing, where they will draw the consumers in, creating that facade of premium and creating that facade of price protection gap also. Alright, so sometimes they may actually launch a bit higher than what it was supposed to be, and then later on they start to give a little bit of incentive or discounts. I'm not imposing that this is a possible thing for LyndenWoods, but I'm just saying that this may be a bit of my concern based on the past developer track record. But this developer definitely provides very premium finishing. They create very nice layouts, they create very nice landscaping, they really create premium products that are very suitable for livability livability. But just for the matter of this video, we just study past trends and we realize like places like Scare Habitat or places like One Pearl Bank, naturally they gave a little bit of discounts after the launch. Maybe it might have been affected by external market factors back then, but I believe right now with their vision and with the products that they create, probably so far based on the last two launches such as Parktown as well as Jaden, they have been pricing it sensitively from the start. So this might be a little bit sensitive, but I'm not saying that it is the fault of the developer. It is largely due to the market sentiments, and let's see from there what this developer's indicative pricing is as I gain more details as the time continues to roll by. Now we move on to why I will buy LyndenWoods. Actually, I classify LyndenWoods as one of the very premium products, and I actually feel that depending on developers' launch price, this is actually a very good product, I must say, because of the views, because of the layout, because of the livability factors, the accessibility and the convenience. So if we look at all the layouts, there is no major disadvantage amongst all the layouts. If you see, it is very livable. For the 4 bedrooms, you got a 10-meter wide master bedroom. For the 3-bedroom premium, you have hackable walls that create a lot of customization of space. Alright, so and livability factor, as like what I've mentioned in my other videos, Singapore government's vision is a need. So you buy property because of a need, meaning to say that means we have to cater to the needs of families. The livability factors must be right, and that will naturally form the natural demand coming into this development. In terms of this development itself, LyndenWoods, the livability factors are very well in check. Despite the smaller size land, they managed to squeeze in nice landscaping for kids to run around. They have a very nice lap pool that creates the buffer between the blocks as well as the highway. You got your pickable / tennis court right in front as well to create even more buffer. So in a way, the developer is doing what they can to increase the livability factors of this development so that you have a long-term sustainability in terms of prices. Unit distribution wise, you realize that there is no 1 bedroom because they know this area, it's been 40 years since there was actually a new launch. There may be actually a demand or a higher demand for own stay. That's why there is no configuration of a 1 bedroom. And this is actually one of a very good advantage, because usually when you put 1 bedrooms in high own stay demand areas, the owners who want to sell sometimes may need to cut their pricing to sell, and that will bring down the entire track record of the development itself. And you know how consumers, the resale buyers, always calculate the prices. They will see the 1 bedroom PSF sell at how much, and then they say naturally if you are bigger unit, the PSF should be lower. And then they use the 1 bedroom PSF as a reference point to bring down the rest of the 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom and 4 bedroom PSF, and in that sense dilute your pricing. But you are not going to see that within LyndenWoods itself because you don't have that factor. But most importantly, the layouts within LyndenWoods itself are excellent. It is whether you are starting off as a small family, it is livable. You got your enclosable kitchen, and like what I always mention about 2 bedrooms, the best is close to 700 square feet with enclosable kitchen. And what I really like is their study can actually give you more flexibility due to the non-PPVC construction method. It can double up as a maid's room. Alright, the study room can double out as a maid's room, or if not, you want to widen up your dining space, it's also possible, or make a walk-in wardrobe. There is just so much more options you can have here that contributes to the livability factors. We move on to the 3 bedrooms. Most of them all face the south facing. You're gonna get sea view, if not it's greenery view. Same for the 4 bedrooms. So in terms of livability factor, this is a big, huge tick, and that also contributes to very strong exit strategy. Second is the heart of transformation. Alright, so based on my previous video called the 3-phase transformation framework, alright, announcement, completion, infrastructure. Finally, they're receiving the rejuvenation down here. The Kent Ridge Hill MRT is built already. You have your Greater One North coming in here, and it is going in full motion. Basically, you are in the infrastructure phase. And just nice, LyndenWoods happens to be in the sweet spot because the transformation of Science Park actually happened in 1980. You have your Circle Line Kent Ridge Hill MRT actually coming out in the year 2000s. Right now, by right, the infrastructure phase would have already been long over. Alright, but right now you have the Greater One North that is coming in motion, and just nice, LyndenWoods happen to be able to piggyback on this transformation phase. And with that in mind, since we are in the infrastructure phase, you know that the government is definitely going to pour billions of resources into this area to develop this area, and that's exactly what we see in the newspaper article. And CapitaLand has definitely right on the wave. But most importantly, if you realize their construction and buying pattern, they always go for places where the heart of transformation is. You have Parktown Residences, which is the Tampines North MRT. They are there. Right? You have Jayden, which is the Jurong second CBD. They are there. Right? You have Outram, One Pearl Bank. Right? And the announcement of the transformation was announced in 2023. They are there again. So if you follow their buying pattern and their construction pattern, hey, they may be signaling a clear indicator for you that there may be something big going on in this area, and they are always growing there to ride on the first movers advantage. Alright, so we gotta of course go with the flow of the government, but most importantly, identify what the developing pattern is. Right, and this may be what it is. Alright, and if we see from the pattern here, yeah, it is true. Alright, this is the master plan of the Greater One North. Just nice in the center here, Lindenwood is surrounded by these three very important factors. First is of course our NUS University, the academic research and housing amenities. Greater One North transformation, where we have our biomedical, infocom, technology and media industries, followed by our Singapore Science Park industry, life sciences, R&D collaboration, so on and so forth. And if we look at the overall master plan again, this is exactly where Lindenwood is situated in, right in the heart of it. But this time round, remember I said just now, there isn't any plot of land in the surrounding area. This is possibly the only plot of land based on the master plan. Everything is blue color, only Lindenwood is red color, which actually indicates residential. It can go both ways. One is no supply but high demand due to high livability factors. Will that form actually a very good exit strategy for you in future? And we all know how that works. You are the only development in the entire region. These people who work in this region will want to be near where they work. They have no choice but to buy this development. High demand but low supply. Alright, and where would that cause the prices to move towards to? Naturally, is go up. But most importantly, the livability factors must be met. And that's what we are seeing in the floor plan and site plan. But most importantly, the accessibility, where you are just a few steps away from a mall and an MRT. Alright, third, does it mean that facing the highway then means this project cannot and nobody will buy? Alright, also contributing from the first and the second factor of why I will buy LyndenWoods. Actually, I have a few examples that can actually counter this. And if we look at that, we can see from there, Penrose itself is one very classic example where we have these few stacks that actually face the very, very noisy PIE highway. And that will be of course a big hit to the livability factors because of the noise. And mind you, the developer back then did not give double glazed windows. So of course here, I emphasize CapitaLand has given double glazed windows to actually mitigate this risk factor that we have here. And but anyway, just looking at a numbers point of view, here I have is actually the Penrose transactions, and you can see from here the recent transactions have been hitting between a range of 1,009 to 2,300 PSF. And if we look at the profitability, we can actually see from here the stacks that actually face the highway are still profitable. We have stack 8. Alright, we have stack 8, 1608 that actually faces the highway. Alright, they bought in 27 September 2020 at 1.41 mil. Alright, and sold on 4th March 2025 at 2 million, making a whooping profit of 585k for a 3-bedroom compact layout. So who says that facing the highway cannot buy? Actually, it's more due to the demand and supply factors as well as the livability of the unit layout, and of course depending on the entry price. But to counter this objection, naturally I think maybe the highway may not be such a big factor after all. So naturally we have another example within the same demographics and same area as LyndenWoods, which is Clairvon. So if we look at Clairvon itself, this is one of the new launches from the previous cycle. We look at the transactions itself, they are generally transacting between 2,000 to 2,100 PSF. And in terms of their profitability wise, in general, they make an average profit of 362k at 408 PSF, alright, with the highest profit of 668 PSF at 929k. I believe that is actually the 4 bedrooms. So the thing about Clairvon is this: if you actually go down to study the site itself, there is a quiet facing, so-called quiet facing, and there is of course the noisy facing, which is the same highway that LyndenWoods is enjoying which is the AYE Alright, you will realize one thing, because of the location of the land of Claiborne. It is just even the quiet facing gets the road noise of the AYE. It's because just nice at the quiet facing, on the left side of it happens to be the filter lane into the AYE highway, and that's the problem. So even on the quiet facing side, you will still get the AYE noise because that's where you get all the cars zooming in through the filter lane to enter AYE. A quiet facing supposed to be quiet, in the end also become noisy. And in that sense, you look at the profitability down there, you see profits of actually 500 to even 900,000. You get your highway facing getting an average of 500k profits. So after all, depending on the demand and supply factors, it will still be profitable, and the highway is just a small factor that contributes to the entire bigger picture. And if we look at that, CapitaLand itself is being so thoughtful, and they are throwing in double glazed windows to mitigate this risk. And you know how effective the double glazed windows are. So meaning to say, if you go high enough, you still get to enjoy panoramic views, but yet with a reduced road noise, making the unit even more livable to begin with. And that is one of the main reasons why I will actually consider LyndenWoods. Alright, last but not least, why I will buy LyndenWoods is also because of the high rentability arising from the limited supply and high demand. Alright, so we can see from here, based on the surrounding area, there's just not much choice to go around. If you happen to be working in the science park, your only other choice is Normanton Park. But Normanton Park, you face a big disadvantage, which is the lack of MRT. The accessibility is a big issue. If you are actually going to school as a student in NUS, or actually working as a professor, or working in NUS for whatever position that you hold, the only other place that you can look at is Pasir Panjang. Alright, and of course, if you happen to be working in One North, then of course One North itself only has that very limited few condos with an overwhelming number of job of 120k sitting on the 600 hectares of land. Alright, so it accounts to 5% of Singapore's total employment. So that is for the One North region. So basically, in a way, if you are looking for something to rent in this whole area, these are your limited choice, and LyndenWoods happens to be able to fill up the void because this is the only one that happens to be right beside the mall, the MRT, and still providing very strong livability factors, facilities for your own stay needs. Alright, so as a tenant, you will also look at that. And if you look at the choices surrounding this area, you are only left with choices in Pasir Panjang where they are mostly boutique developments. So meaning to say, if they are relocating from another country to be working in these areas, they have no choice but to actually choose LyndenWoods in a way, because the rest of the Pasir Panjang developments, they either lack family communal activities or good facilities that actually provides them with quality finishings. If you realize the Pasir Panjang developments, they are all mostly boutique developments that have poor quality finishing. If you are expat moving to Singapore, naturally you will want to treat yourself better, you want to be closer to your workspace, but yet stay in a very high quality development itself, and LyndenWoods happens to be able to fill this void. And if you look at the 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms rental in the Pasir Panjang area, we have veranda residences itself. The 1 bedroom is already going at 3,500, the 2 bedrooms are already going at 4,500, the 3 bedroom is going at 5,001, and the 4 bedroom is going at 6,002. Right, mind you, this is actually a boutique development rental prices with the sacrifice of community living, with the sacrifice of facilities, and of course the sacrifice of quality finishing within the layout. If LyndenWoods actually provides an advantage in all of these 3 aspects, am I right to say LyndenWoods is likely to be able to command a higher rental pricing? But most importantly, rentability is definitely going to be much easier, given that the pool of tenants is going to come from these 3 places: the One North, the Greater One North, the Science Park, as well as the NUS. These 3 aspects that will actually contribute to your rental. And like what they always say, rentability also plays a little bit of part in terms of capital appreciation. Why? Because with a higher rentability and rental price, it gives the buyers more certainty and more confidence to pay for a higher pricing for your unit, because they know they will be able to facilitate their mortgage easily, and thus they will be more motivated to pay you a higher pricing. We move on to the price prediction. With the limited knowledge and information that I have, I'm hearing preliminary announcements that it will likely not cross 2,800 PSF. So meaning to say that the average will be about 26 to 27 PSF. Right, with the smaller units maybe launching at 28 PSF and the bigger units launching at maybe 24 to 25 or even 26 PSF. Alright, with that in mind, here I have a graph that compares the OCR, RCR and CCR new development prices so far based on the respective regions. We can see the OCR on average has hit about 2382 PSF based on the previous launches. We see prices hitting 2,630 PSF for the RCR region on average, as well as CCR region being at 3,129 PSF, largely driven by OMG itself. Alright, so we can see from here where the position of LyndenWoods will actually be. Likelihood it will be probably coming out between 24 to 26 PSF. Alright, I don't have any information on hand or anything that I can peg the reference to, because this is a land owned by CapitaLand for a very long time. Alright, it's not like a land sales that has happened, or at least based on the research that I've done. Alright, there is no indicator that it was a land sales sold recently. I think this belongs to one of the land banks that CapitaLand has been holding for a long time, ever since the Singapore Science Park initiative has started. Alright, and that's why I think finally they are taking it out to sell. So if they are launching anywhere between about 25 to 27 PSF, actually it will give a very good contender to the nearby developments such as Bloomsbury itself. Bloomsbury on average right now is hitting the 24 to 2,500 per square foot range without any MRT inside, or maybe a future MRT that has already been announced down there, but we still got to wait for things to happen. For LyndenWoods itself, you are actually getting something that is already ready-made with a mall and an MRT right beside. And if I only have one key question to ask you is this: based on the average pricing of Bloomsbury right now, which is about 2,400 to 2,500 per square foot, alright, what will happen to the prices if there was actually an MRT right beside? I think for Bloomsbury itself, it will actually go up to about 2,800 to 2,900 or even 3,000 PSF. Now, drawing that experience or drawing that reference point from there, now we have Kent Ridge Hill MRT right beside LyndenWoods, and if we are launching at about 2,500 to 2,600 PSF, I think we still got a little bit of gap from that 2,700 to 2,800 PSF range that we just mentioned about, using Bloomsbury as a reference point. And if they were really to be launching at about 2,500 to 2,700 PSF, I think you still have some buffer, alright, and some safety net, given this is in its infrastructure phase, but most importantly, there is already a mall and an MRT station right beside it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, price prediction, we are looking at about 2,500 to 2,600 PSF for some of the starting price. They have already indicated that they would not cross 2,700 to 2,800 PSF. Now that actually places us in a very competitive position, as it is possibly still lower than the average RCR pricings that we are seeing in today's market. So based on this price prediction that I'm looking at right now, the final verdict and the final evergreen scorecard, actually I will give this an 8 out of 10, but this one must make sure we take a look at the entry price first, alright, because the entry price itself is still a question mark. If they start to hit the 2,800 PSF to the 3,000 range, then maybe I feel it might not be such a viable investment or entry option. Alright, all in all, the livability factors of this development is very strong. I've checked the numbers itself. It is still, if it's launching between 2,500 to 2,600 PSF, is still below the average RCR pricing that we are seeing in today's market. You get your MRT, you get your mall. Actually, there is not much contenders out there that can actually fight this. The livability factors are high. The rejuvenation coming into this area, applying our three-phase transformation concepts, it is in the infrastructure phase, but most importantly, the lack of supply in this whole area with the high homestay demand is possibly going to give you a very good price sustainability as well as a very clear exit strategy in mind. So we take the demand supply factors into play, we take the layouts into play, we take the surrounding demand as well as corporate jobs in play, that results in very high rentability. I actually think that LyndenWoods will be one of the iconic landmark given the developer's renowned track record. So if you like my content so far, remember to like, share and subscribe as I continue staying motivated to create more in-depth analysis of the various aspects of real estate in Singapore in the Essentials channel.